I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything. I know a lot of you guys are frustrated with Adam because of his appearance of the lack of, well, because of the lack of control a couple of nights ago when your boy was on. And guess what? You have every right to be. You have every right to be upset. I can also admit that I am frustrated too. I can admit that. I found the entire conversation absolutely pointless based on the fact that Adam Sosnick, based on the fact, my bad, that Adam Sosnick could not or would not corral the women after they started attacking me. You better freaking believe I was frustrated. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little bit heated. Not at the girls. Right? Not at the girls because, this is what we expect. This is what we expect from them. Right? We expect women to get out of pocket when they hear shit that they don't generally want to hear. We get that. We've been in the space long enough. We understand all that. We understand all that completely, so we know what to expect from women. We know what to expect from women. At least most of us do. Right? But yeah, I'm frustrated with Adam because of the way things went. All of that said, gentlemen, as a man, I have the ability to compartmentalize my emotions and separate them from my logical decisions. Okay, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Adam's a very good friend of mine. He's a good dude, guys, despite what you guys might think of him. He's given me the kinds of tips on wealth management that are still paying dividends to this day. He suggested that I hire a certain kind of firm to manage my money. He gave me insight on what to look for, what not to look for, red flags, things to watch out for, and so on and so forth. Well, one such conversation happened after my last appearance on Saucecast with MLD. I took him aside after the pod, and I peppered him with questions, him and the other guy, questions about money and finance. And he stood there. He stood there for 45 minutes and answered every single one of my questions. He didn't have to do that. Okay? He could have been in the cigar lounge with PBD and a couple of other important looking people who were in there. But the fact that he took time to talk to me and gave me great advice, that speaks to the kind of person he is as far as I'm concerned. On the other hand, I understand why people are roasting him in the comment section of the video. I understand, but we have to understand or acknowledge a couple of things before we fly off the handle here and start throwing around accusations and making assumptions. Number one, and this is the most important thing we have to understand here. Adam Sosnick, he ain't built like us. Man, he's just not. He's not built like us in the RP space. But guess what, guys? Most men aren't. Gentlemen, most men aren't. Dude, 95 to 99.9% of men are incapable of giving women raw and honest accounts of what is really going on in the world without pulling punches, or without sugarcoating it, or without making a light of it for some sort of comedic effect. To be able to do this, it takes a hell of a lot of time, it takes a lot of experience, and even more patience. You guys also have to remember, Adam's new to this space. He doesn't have the same breadth of experience with women like we do, and that's not a bad thing at all. But let's call a spade a spade. Sosnick ain't built like we are, and it's not even really his fault. Because something else we all have to remember is that Adam is tall, good-looking, and rich. And tall, good-looking, rich guys have a much different experience with women than guys like myself, Fresh Prince CEO, MLD, and all the rest of those guys before we became successful. None of us are as objectively attractive as Sosnick. None of us have had money and clout for as long as he has. So expecting someone of Adam's, let's call it an archetype, to have the same kind of backbone of a Myron Gaines, that's unrealistic, okay? I'll give an example. My friend Josh, I've talked about him before. Tall, good-looking blonde guy. He's basically Thor. He's 6'4", has got steely blue eyes, who's very, very good looking. I didn't realize just how attractive he was until my sister said something about it. My sister is not into white dudes, but it was the first time I'd ever heard her call a man hot. Now, I've known Josh a while. He's always had success with women quite simply because he's had a lot more opportunities with them. And it started at an early age, guys. We met each other when he was 19 and I was 20. And he was pulling chicks left and right. But they didn't make him work for it at all. Tall, good-looking dude, blue eyes, blonde hair, etc., etc. Girls didn't make him work nearly as hard as they made me work. It is what it is. That's just part of the game. I'm 6'2". I'm in decent shape now, and I'll be in much better shape in a few short months. But I'm average to below average looking from the neck up, right? I'm not ugly, but I'm not attractive either. I'm just kind of a pick a light-skinned black dude with a beard, right? I have a high-pitched nasally voice, and if I'm being honest, I am unlikable to most people who meet me for the first time. That, and I am an impatient hothead. These all created major challenges for me on the dating market, but I overcame them because I worked at it. I practiced, I drilled, and I rehearsed. I rehearsed every morning before I hit the street. I practiced, drilled, and rehearsed every afternoon during my coffee or lunch break. Dude, I'd be in the Starbucks bathroom. Hi, I'm Donovan. He's not invited, etc., etc. I used to practice, drill, and rehearse at the mirror every night before I went to bed, and sometimes, even when I had a girl over, I took nothing for granted. All things being equal, my game level is much higher than Josh's has ever been because it has to be in order for me to get good results. We can draw the same comparison between Adam and, say, Myron. Okay, Myron's 6'4", and he formerly worked for Homeland Security, which is pretty fucking badass. But Myron used to be a nerd. He used to play video games. Right? He was terrible with women, as really most of us were. Yeah, he's tall, but sometimes, he looks a little bit lanky. He doesn't have the best posture at times. He kind of cranes over, I guess maybe because he's so tall, right? He's got a big, funny-looking nose, and he's never seen wearing anything but, fresh and fit gear, blue jeans, and those goddamn chukka boots. And I laugh because I know that if Myron's watching this, he'd be laughing too because it's true. So in order for Myron to get good with girls, he had to learn game too. And the only way to learn game, the only way to really learn it, is through blunt force trauma, getting rejected over and over and over and over again. Learning from your mistakes, adjusting, then going out and getting rejected some more. Guys, this ain't easy. Learning game is flat out hard. And guys, this is back in the early to mid 2010s when dating apps were still largely underground for the most part. I can't even imagine what it's like approaching girls now. The point is that learning game, which again, for those of you new, is shorthand for learning how to handle modern women, isn't something most men are willing to learn. At least not these days anyway. It takes an exorbitant amount of time, energy, preparation, and money to really master the game. Now, you can shorten your learning curve by purchasing my 25-hour game course, How to Master the Game, on tsracademy.com. But it's still going to take work. You're still going to fail. You are still going to have to go through the fire. And when you do it, if you come out the other side, it steels your nerves to the point to where you are not afraid of women on any level. You don't fear them at all. And when that fear is completely gone, one of the many things that almost magically comes is that you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth without any fear or retaliation from women, and that is what separates us from everyone else. Yeah, I'm sure Adam's had plenty of experience with women, but I can all but guarantee you that his experience was very different from Myron's coming up. Adam is good looking, that's an advantage. Adam's tall, that's also an advantage. Adam's also rich, which is another advantage, but he worked for that advantage. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But to say that he isn't aided somehow by his looks and his height is disingenuous. This doesn't mean Adam doesn't know how to handle certain kinds of women, because he clearly does. But an obvious deficiency of his is being able to handle women when they get out of pocket. You see, gentlemen, guys like Adam very rarely see the very worst in women. Again, tall, good-looking, rich, etc. He's not used to getting the kind of pushback and disrespect that guys like myself, Fresh Prince CEO, MLD, guys like those have had to go through. No, this is not Adam's fault, and it doesn't mean that he's any better or worse than us. But my friend Josh was always treated well by women, and because of this, it took him until he was well into his 40s to realize just who and what they were. Josh wasn't tested by women like I was. He wasn't rejected by them at the rate I was. This forced me to adapt or get left behind. Well, one of the many unique skill sets that arises from cold approach is the ability to be honest and forthright with women, regardless of how it comes out. Adam clearly lacks the experience in handling unruly women. We can see that in just about every podcast. Again, this doesn't make him a bad guy or a bad host. But when you're in this space and you bring on women to discuss these topics, developing this skill is essential. Because if he continues to allow his female guests to get and stay out of pocket and just be flat out disrespectful to him and his guest lists are going to shrink. MLD's already washed his hands of them, and I don't blame him. I still love them both, but I don't blame MLD. What happened to John was clearly orchestrated by Natalia and the plus-size Angela, whatever her name is. But the problem was that Adam didn't step in and regulate the conversation. He allowed all of those women to sit there and berate John without allowing him to get a word in edgewise. Then when MLD left because he had a hard out at 6 to go meet Brandon Carter, something he said at the beginning of the podcast, Adam didn't tell the ladies, well, he did say he had a hard out at 6 at the beginning of the show. In fact, he even let Melina say that MLD ran away like a little bitch on the Fresh and Fit live event. He could have ended her right then and there. He could have just been like, Melina, you're wrong. Here's what happened. But he let it go. So yeah, if I'm MLD, I'm not doing business with Adam Sosnick anymore either. But here's the thing. I know Adam didn't mean any harm to MLD. He told me he was unaware of this setup, and I believe him. He's got no reason to lie to me. But to then not explain to Melina that MLD had a hard out at 6 when she made that comment on the Fresh and Fit live event, and to allow Natalia and other panelists to just attack him, that to me speaks directly to his lack of experience checking women who are out of pocket. And you'll see more of it in this reaction as well. So the bottom line on this particular point is that Adam Sosnick ain't built like we are here in the Sphere. He could certainly learn how to handle women like we do, but in his mind, he probably thinks, rightfully, well, I'm tall, I'm good looking, I'm rich, I own a bar, I live in Miami, and girls throw the cheeks at me all the time anyway. Why do I need to learn to fish? Why do I need to learn to fish when they're just jumping into my boat? Which makes sense for him. But that has created an obvious hole and a weakness in his hosting abilities. The second thing we need to understand is that this is a hobby for Sosnick. Okay, this isn't to say that he doesn't take this seriously. Because, look, his production clearly says otherwise. Shout out to MLD in the house, says, LOL, that's all I gotta say. Appreciate you, MLD. Oh, I'm sorry, L-O-L, all caps. So MLD is serious. But again, this isn't to say that he doesn't take this seriously, because his production clearly says otherwise. But we have to really, really listen. We have to really listen to what Adam says at the beginning of every podcast. What is their purpose? Helping people get laid, get paid, and do it their way. Okay? Well, guess what, guys? At no time does he ever purport to want to help men get better with women. Maybe he has said it in podcast I'm not aware of. I haven't seen or heard it yet. Maybe I'm wrong. At no time does he claim to be a dating coach or some kind of relationship expert. And he very, very rarely talks about the importance of a man improving himself in every way he possibly can, unless, of course, another panelist or a guest brings it up first. Okay? Guys, that's what we do. That's not what Sosnick does. Now, this isn't to suggest that there aren't some elements of his show that don't help men. Not the least of which is putting a magnifying glass on women who claim to be boss babes and seeing that they're really little more than basic bitches like most other women. But we need to understand that the name of his company is Valuetainment Money. That is value, entertainment, and money. That doesn't mention male self-improvement at all. It just doesn't. Adam is not passionate about male self-improvement. He's just not. At least he hasn't given us any reason to believe that he is. And look, that's not a sin, that's not a crime. You're not going to be passionate about something that you don't want to be passionate about. But guys, that's why he essentially treats this like a hobby. It's because this is kind of something he's trying out. Now, he also has not claimed to be about men's self-improvement. So, like I said before, why are we expecting him to be as passionate and as driven as we are? He's almost, I don't know, he's almost in the same category as maybe Pearl, all right? Pearl has never claimed to be anything other than what she is, a woman who likes to talk about things that interest her and entertain people. Well, women interest everybody, and the way to grow any channel is to have women on, and Adam has clearly figured that out. Here's another thing. Adam flirts with his panelists on the regular. Not something I would do. Not something I would do. He's perfectly well within his rights to do what he wants to do. He's a grown man. He's going to do whatever he wants to do. But if you're playfully flirting with these women during the show, you're going to have a very hard time as a host corralling them when they go feral, when they inevitably hear something that upsets them. And girls, these girls know this, gentlemen. These girls know this. They know Adam would smash if given half the chance. He basically throws a sausage at him. You know, and a lot of it is tongue-in-cheek, but girls don't take it that way. That's why they feel so entitled to say and do the things they say and do on his platform, no less. Myron lets these girls know up front, I ain't trying to smash. I don't care what y'all think. Guys tell you shit because they want to smash. Not me, I'm going to give it to you straight. Gentlemen, if you haven't heard anything I have said to this point, you need to listen good. Turn up the volume, turn up your earbuds, your AirPods, pads, hearing aids, whatever, because this will explain why Sosnick's female guests act the way they do. If a woman knows you don't want to smash or that you won't smash if they threw you the cheeks, it takes away their power. Let me repeat that. If a woman knows you don't want to smash or that you wouldn't smash if they threw you the cheeks, it takes away their power. That's why this is why the girls respect Myron on his platform and why they disrespect Adam on his. Again, I'm not saying this to persecute or to criticize or judge Adam. Listen, plenty of girls use their platforms to source girls from time to time, including Myron and Fresh. Right? The whole Anna Quinn situation was like, hey, look, I was trying to shoot my shot. It is what it is. Look, man, if Adam sees a girl he likes, he's got a right to shoot his shot and use all the resources available to him. I'm not mad at that. But one of the main reasons Adam's female guests don't listen to him is because they think he wants to smash. And the reason they think this is because of the flirting and the hyperbolic things he says about the girls. He calls Natalia the Jamaican baddie with the patties or something. I have no idea what that even means. He's always gassing up the girls, talking about, okay, girl X, you're beautiful, you're successful, you're a boss, babe. Any guy would be lucky to have you. He does this with all of his female guests, including, as it happens, Melina, of all people. When a multi-millionaire tells you that you're a high-value woman directly or indirectly, and that you're a catch, and this and that, they assume you have respect for them they assume you have respect for them no matter how disrespectful they are to you. And this is exactly what is on display night after night after night. I remember speculating on the air that Adam and Natalia had something going on. Okay? I remember speculating. Adam called me right after the podcast and says, hey man, just want to clear the air. Nothing going on between me and Natalia. That's all he had to say. Okay, hey, all right, I believe you. He told me they didn't, and I believe him. I get it. If he says he's not smashing, he's not smashing. I have no reason not to believe him. But he needs to understand that calling Natalia the Jamaican baddie with the fatty Krabby Patties or whatever is the reason she's not improving at her job. Yeah, she might read a little better, but we can all see that the reason she has her job is because she's attractive, and that's okay. But you give an attractive woman any measure of authority in your space, and she will assume that she has some of that authority. Don't believe me? Why the hell else do you think that she could cook up some ambush against MLD and keep it from Adam on his show? How else did she think that she could do that and not get fired for it, even when the truth came out about it the very next day? This kind of behavior is indicative of someone who rarely sees the negative consequences of her actions. So guys, just understand that number one, Adam's not built like we are. Number two, this isn't his main source of income. And number three, he flirts with his female guests on the regular. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with anything or that I condone or don't condone it. But this is his platform, guys. And we can all sit here and talk shit. But dude's about to cross 200K. I've been stuck at 172K for something like 6 months. He's got to be doing something right. And keep in mind that just because this isn't his main source of income doesn't mean he doesn't take it seriously. Because again, it's clear that he does. Unfortunately, however, when you're in this space, you have to have the ability to shoot straight with women. And when you are seen allowing women to walk all over your guests, your assistant and producer launching ambush attacks on the air without your knowledge, it won't be long before guys start tuning out. And here's another thing. Yes, he takes this seriously, but it appears he treats this like a hobby. I'm not saying he does, but that's what it looks like. And the reason I'm saying this, the reason I think this, the reason it appears this way is because despite all of the obvious signs that his audience does not like the way he allows female guests to talk to male guests, nothing's changed. He still allows women to cut us off. He allows them to berate and insult us with impunity. He still doesn't have mods in the chat, and it appears he's not really too concerned about it. Now get this, that's not even necessarily a bad thing. He doesn't have to give a shit about any of this stuff. Again, he's about to crack 200K. So who the hell am I to talk about what he should or shouldn't be doing? Right? He blew past me months ago. Hey, I tip my cap to the guy. But as much as I like and respect Adam, me personally, I am not going to subject myself to that level of disrespect again. I don't tolerate disrespect in my personal life. I don't tolerate it in my public life, and I'm damn sure not gonna start now. I would love to be on Saucecast every week if I could. It's a fun show to do, but not like that. And given the appearance of a lack of concern for these issues, that's not something I can commit to. At least not long term. So we'll see. We'll see. Adam doesn't have to change anything for me. He can run his show the way he wants to. It's working so far, and as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think it's fair to say that any content creator who is respected in this space would be hard-pressed to appear on a podcast where women are routinely allowed to run roughshod over male guests without so much as a warning for them to knock it off. And that is the memo.